Hey Gary, my apologies, 'cause it might seem like I'm ganging up on you, with this other reply. Imagine that was just me taking a drag on a cigarette. I forgot about your comment about Milton Friedman. The implication of which that I was promoting Milton Friedman as as a guide, to what we might follow in terms of going forward. And whenever, I recognize Milton Friedman. Remember when my dad was teaching me about economics, I already knew who Milton Friedman was. And when my dad was telling me he understood more about monetary economics than any economist out there, I was part of my whole thing about it, not accepting what my dad was telling me because Milton Friedman was a free market capitalist, you know, totally opposed to anything I was thinking. So I had to take everything my dad said with kind of a grain of salt about Milton Friedman. Okay, now whenever I deign to use the name Milton Friedman, it's always in association with uh, a specific writing, teaching, saying, something that he did. See, Milton Friedman, it's hard to understand this, but, in the 20s and the 30s, Milton Friedman supported the progressive notions about money and finances. Okay, and what do I mean by that? When the Chicago Plan for Monetary Reform came out, it was progressive economists that, kind of grew up out of both the greenback tradition and the populist tradition with regard to the money system. Okay, not currency. Okay, and the writings of the Chicago school economists of the 20s and the 30s, and remember, they're the ones who started studying the cause of the crash. Okay, after we had the Federal Reserve, and when they were proposing their solutions, and Henry Simons and Irving Fisher, they were all people that were promoting democratic, people-oriented solutions, public solutions to the problems. And Milton Friedman supported those. Okay, I'm just to tell you that his writings in the 20s, 30s, 40s. I think I put in a reference to his fiscal and monetary framework for economic stability. And if you read that, his basic reform is the same one that Dennis Kucinich is going to be putting in place. So Dennis Kucinich, Milton Friedman. How can there possibly be a commonality? And the answer is, when it comes to money, the science of money, Milton Friedman understood the science of money, and at the time, he was, one of the lead spokespersons for those types of ideas. And I'm talking about more than a generation, almost a two-generational span of time that Friedman was out there on this issue. Okay, that's why he wrote. That's when you read about him, that paper that I mentioned, in which he proposed, the end to the private creation and destruction of money. Now, that money power that resides with the entire private banking system should end. An end to that. That's what he called for. An end to the private creation and destruction of capital. Does that sound like the late Milton Friedman? When I mean the later Milton Friedman, both of which are the late Milton Friedman. Now Friedman, learned the hard way that you can't really have your own ideas in economics. Your ideas need to fit into the mainstream of ideas. And whereas he was trying very hard to change the mainstream of ideas, he embraced the mainstream of ideas of neoliberalism. Okay, not only did embrace them, became to personify them, and to be the primary spokesperson for them. A most noted spokesperson for those neoliberal economic ideas, but his early works, and his sense of what was real and needed during that time, the things that he propounded and the things that he promoted were much more progressively inclined, and thus the similarity between what he was doing then and what Dennis Kucinich is working on now. Okay, so I wanted to try to make that clear. Even up through the 70s, I'm pretty sure it was in the 70s when he wrote his book called The Program for Monetary Stability, he was still in the he's kind of had the both balls up in the air, because he was starting to become the the proponent of against regulation, against that other stuff, but at the same time, wanting to first create the level playing field when it comes to the money system, because if you don't have a level playing field with the money system, then all the regulations become necessary and problematic. They're problematic for free market economies that he believed in. And that's, in a way, that's my sense of things. Is that below all, the foundation of all, everything that you're going to build a financial economy and an economic system on is the fundamental foundation soundness of a money system that works properly, and that would be a permanent money system, a debt-free money system, a money system where the means of exchange is provided within the economy for the goods and services that are going to be produced. And once you have that, now you can have the free markets. Now everybody can be a crass person. Everybody. Why? Because the money system's going to work. You're not going to act because there's going to be inflation, and that's like part of the tragedy of the economic commons, political economic commons. Well, we're going to have a run up. We're going to the lower interest rates. We're going to have a run up. We're going to have a certain types of economic activities that are going to match the inflationary period, and then we're going to have another set of economic activities that are going to match the recessionary period, the inflation-induced growth and the inflation-induced recession. So, anyway, that's my point there about Milton Friedman. He was really of two minds. Okay, you may say he outgrew his earlier notions about what money was and how money ought to function in society, and became much more enamored with the markets and the free markets. And I grant you that, but it's like Professor Bill Mitchell. If you go to the Billy blog, which is Professor William Mitchell's blog, and you'll read his thing about his conversation with Paul Krugman, in which it's the classic. It's the one Simon Dixon relates. It's the one Ben Dyson relates. When you're in economics school, there's a certain hallway that they walk you past really quick. It's the one where the monetary reformers are hanging out, the cranks, the monetary heretics. They're down there talking about what the money system really is. And they make sure that you get past there really quick, because there's no PhD there and there's no book there, and there's no different with Milton Friedman. He held fast on his ideas about money until it was not in his best interest to do so anymore. And he did the writings, so it's all there. That's why I look at it. Those are his writings. If those words that he wrote are true, they're true. And they're true today just as much as they were back then. And to me, they're more true than all of his pontifications about free markets. So Milton Friedman, still one of my heroes when it comes to money only. Thanks.